This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, good morning all. So let's get started now. So today, we are going to discuss, about Pega. Okay. So before that, so let me introduce myself. So, so myself, Satyendra Kumar. I have overall 10 years of IT experience on Pega. So currently, I'm working as a lead. Okay. So I've been giving the training for last 5 years. Okay, and so I done like so around 50 batches and done couple of corporate trainings in Singapore. Okay, yeah. So that's about myself, and so let's get started. Okay, so Pega is a just a company name founded by Alan Treffler in way back, like it's in 1983 around. And so they have provided a tool called PRPC, which is Pega Rules Process Commander. Okay, so using which so we are going to design the web-based applications. Okay, and that tool, that PRPC comes under BPM technology. Okay. So BPM stands for Business Process Management, and which is a methodology to manage or automate the business processes in an organization. Okay. So if you take any organization, so we can have the various applications, right? So for example, if you take a company TCS, so there would be different applications, to handle the various processes. For example, so onboarding application, so which is to manage, the new candidature, so new employee, right? So there would be certain process where, so they have to collect the information about the employee, and they have to, schedule the interview. So likewise, there will be, the different process for that. And so similarly, so we can take the simple application called, a leave request application. Okay. So every enterprise will have the leave request application, so which process the, employee leaves. Okay. So here, so process is a, series of steps, so that necessary to complete the task. Okay. To complete certain task. So for example, so as a employee, so I have to, apply for a leave. Okay. So I have to follow, this certain process, right? So as an employee, like, so I have to fill out the form with the leave details. And so once we fill the form, so it will be sent to the manager for approvals. And so once verify all the details. So in some cases, like, so if it is the kind of medical leave, so we need to upload certain documents. So once all these details verified, it can be approved or rejected. Okay. So for example, if the manager approved that particular leave request, so the corresponding leave should be deducted from the database table. Yes, can you put on mute, please? Yeah. So once the manager verifies all the information, so either it can be approved or rejected. So if it is approved, so the corresponding leave should be deducted from database table, right? So let's say I'm applying for 2 days. So once it is approved, so those leaves should be deducted from my leave balance. So that will happen in the database table. So, and it has to be notified to the employee about that. So let's say your leave request has been approved. So if it is rejected, then the rejection email will be sent to that particular employee. Okay. So there will be a certain process, right? So this process we define through workflows. Okay. So in the BPM, so the workflows, plays a important role. Okay. So we are designing the leave request application, and we have to design the workflow like this. Okay, so as an employee, so if we start filling out the details, so internally the flow will start from it will move from one uh, flow shape to another flow shape. Okay, this is basically, these are the different flow shapes we have. Okay, so if we are entering the leaves and the UI in the front end means, so the flow started from here to here. Okay, and this is the kind of shape, for example, on which will display this screen to the user to enter the leave details. Okay, so once user enters the details, internally it will verify some logic, right? Let's say I have the total leaves of 10 and I cannot apply more than that. Okay, it will check whether apply leaves are less than or equal to total leaves kind of. Okay, so if it is not, then like let's say it would be ended and it will not allow you to apply for a leave. Okay, so if it is yes, then it will go for manager approvals. S means like, so this condition is satisfied. So where employee is applying lesser than what they have or equal to that, right? So it will go for managers, then manager can approve or reject it. So if it is approved, then it updates some database tables. Okay. And finally, it would be ended. Okay, simply, so it's like kind of it's a unit of work, right? So either it can be completed by acceptance or rejectance. Okay, so we use the BPM to design such kind of applications. Okay, for example, the loan related application, right? So if you want to apply a loan, so there would be a certain process. Okay, so if you are following the BPM applications, meaning like, so if you are designing the applications through BPM tools, okay, so we design the workflows. Okay, so there are different BPM tools in the market, like so we have Appian, so we have Oracle BPM, we have the Lombardi, which is designed by IBM, and COD is like that. So, but so Pega is, Pega BPM is more familiar, and it is having the market share across like, globe like 78% like that. And rest of all the BPMs are sharing the rest of the market share. Okay. So we'll see like, those kind of advantages and like, so how, the Pega BPM is more unique and all, going forward. Okay. So, any questions so far? This is, let's say, yeah. So now you can ask a question that like, so we can, implement the applications, the same applications, right? So whatever we implemented here, so can be designed using the traditional programming languages also. Okay. So if you take, any kind of web applications, so you will have a, certain things, right? So for example, if I take this simple, the Gmail application, okay? So this is like, a simple web-based application. Yeah. So guys, yeah, so I will answer for all your questions. So let's not, deviate, for now, because like, so some questions takes more explanation, right? So we will see that end of the session. Okay. So yeah, so this is the simple the base application. So what you can see here basically. So you see the user interface, right? So the screen's nothing but UI, okay? And there will be a certain business logic as well. Let's say uh, if you are entering the username which already exists, so it will not allow you to proceed to the next screen. Okay, so kind of business validations, right? And so the moment you know enter the username, let's say I'm entering the username which already exists. The moment you tab it, so something will be invoked, right? So that something gets called internally to check whether this is already exist or new one, kind of. So in the similar way, so we'll have some business validations around the password as well, right? So once you've entered the valid data, so it allows you to go to the next screen, and all this data would be stored in where this data will be stored, obviously, right? So this will be stored in the database. So every application, so will have some user interface, right? So there can be applications without like UI also, but definitely like so, you know, most of the applications will have the user interface. Okay. So yeah, if we take any kind of let's say web-based application, so we must like have some you know kind of screens, right? So UI, and there will be some business logic, okay, and we'll have the you know database connected, okay. So sometimes you may interact with the you know other databases or other applications as well, okay. But so this would be you know the basic things, right? And if it is a BPM application, so we'll have the workflow also. So the workflow is what we have seen here, the graphical representation. Okay. So which plays a key role, right? So if you take the traditional application development, so you may have the workflow in the documents, right? And you design an application so based on that, but the workflow doesn't involve as part of the you know implementation. Okay, so this is the main difference. Okay, so in the traditional applications, so we'll have to write the code, so we'll have the huge lines of code, you know. And so let's say if it is like you know the low code development tool, so this is how it displays, like so we'll have the clear the visual representation you know to the users, and so they can know like how it is going on. But so you will not have that kind of you know so visibility in the traditional programming languages. Okay, clear. So so that means right like so as we discussed, so we will have the user interface, so we have the business logic, and so and whatever the data we enter, so all this data will be stored in the database. So all these things would be configured in the workflow. Okay, so we are designing the leave request applications, so where we need some screens, right? So to enter the leave details, and also we need a screen for manager where the manager can verify the information and can approve or reject kind of. So there will be some fields like you know using that can approve or reject. Okay, so in order to design the leave request application, so we need some screens. We build the screens and we will configure inside the workflow, okay, and we write some business logic and we will call you know that inside the workflow. So likewise, so everything would be configured you know inside the workflow. And sometimes if you are interacting with the external application or external databases also, you know, so we configure those kind of things like so, and we will put in inside the workflow. Okay, and when you run the application, that means the you know your workflow gets started. So when you launch the application in the front end, if you are in somewhere in the screen, so that means like your flow already started and moving to the screen one kind of. Okay, so just give me a second. Just give me 1 second. Actually, so it's first class, right? Like so, people are coming from various locations. Hello. Yeah. So that means like so we design everything individually and we configure inside the workflow. Okay. So that we will have the clear representation here. Like so, like what will happen, how the flow moves, like how the workflow moves from one flow shape to another flow shape towards its resolution. Okay. Yeah. Clear. So and there are like so three pillars of BPM. So that is like process. So process is let's say workflow here, like whatever we have seen that graphical representation. So which plays the key role in the BPM applications. And the people is kind of like employees. So they would involved in every facet of application development. Okay. And the technology, so every successful applications they adopt to the technology. So in the day-to-day life, like so we have the various digital technologies, right? Like let's say the streaming things and like for example geolocation. So the application should be able to adapt such kind of technologies in order to deliver the robust applications. Okay, so these three things plays the key role in the BPM applications. Okay, so now coming to the different kind of the roles in the BPM. Okay, so we can manage the various roles. For example, if we take the leave request application development, right? So we need the developers who are going to design that application. Okay, and so we need the admins like so who supports an application. So let's say take care of the database related stuff and server related things. Okay, and we need like so we'll have the users, right? So users nothing but who are using that application. In this context, the employees of that organization would be the users. Okay, and so we'll have the managers, right? Like so who are going to manage those the leave requests. Okay, so let's say you sent an email, like sorry, the leave request to the manager, and manager can review that and can approve or reject. Okay, so if you take any kind of application, so these would be the big, like the important roles we have. So if we take the loan application, so let's say you are implementing the loan application for some bank. Okay. So in order to implement that application, so we need the developers obviously. Okay. And we'll have the testers also, but like so these are the main roles. Okay. And so we'll have the developers who are going to design that particular loan application. And so we'll have the users like bank employees, right? So who are going to use that application if it is the internal loan application. Okay, so that means like end users like us will not have access for that. So if you want to apply for a loan, so we have to go to the bank, and where the bank users will use the application to process the loan. Okay, so that user will have these certain functionalities, right? So the user can capture only the information into the system, but they will not have ability to approve or reject it. Okay, so like let's say the bank manager or senior managers, for example, right? So we'll have an ability to approve or reject that particular loan. Okay, so you have to just relate it to any kind, such kind of application so that you will understand more. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that so we use this Pega PRPC to design the web-based applications. Okay, so the domain can be anything. So we can design, let's say the healthcare related applications or insurance or, you know, the banking, whatever it, right? So yeah, so these are the various the roles we will have the in the BPM, so we can manage them. And if you want, let's say different kind of the roles, for example, in the managers also we can have the senior manager, vice president, like that. For example, if the loan amount is more, so it has to be approved by various levels, right? So they will have the the different uh, the capabilities, so we can handle them, like so we can provide certain functionalities to the certain kind of the users. Okay, clear? Yeah. So these are the various things we follow whenever, like so we design an application. Okay. So these BPM applications can generally be implemented in the following steps. Okay, again, take the leave request application. So let's say an enterprise, that organization wanted to build a leave request application from scratch. How do you start it? So we have to, gather the requirements. So we need to analyze them, right? So the detailed analysis is required to provide the, uh, better applications, to implement the, high efficiency applications. Okay, so any kind of application, right? So basically BPM application. So we always starts with the detailed analysis, and then we will start design the things. Okay, so we'll prepare, let's say, some technical related documents and some functional specifications, and then we will start designing the process. Let's say workflow, if it is yeah, in this BPM. So let's say we will design the workflow as I showed in the previous slides. Okay. So the design of a process involves the workflows, and that includes the human to human interactions or system to system or human to system. Meaning, so let's say we will have certain screens where we interact with that. Okay, so the leave details screen, right? So we will enter the data, and once we submit it, it will be moved to the next screen. It's like, the human to system, right? So system to system means, like, let's say assume that it has to bring certain kind of, you are processing the loan application, and you need to bring certain kind of information from the various system. Okay, so it happens internally, so you will do the necessary configuration for that, and it will take care of bringing the data from that application, right? So it is like, system to system interaction. Okay, so and human to system and system to human, right? No, yeah, human to human means, like, for example, let's say we that's in the same example, right? So we enter the details and we have submitted it, and it will go to the next screen where another user, okay, meaning like that manager, so will interact with that system uh, to, approve or reject it. Okay, it's like, different ways how we interact with the applications. Clear this point? Okay, and the design should aim to reduce the errors and maintain the service level agreements. So yeah, so the best the design would obviously, the reduce the errors, right? Like so, and like so we maintain the various service level agreements, for example. So once we submit the leave request, so it has to be approved or rejected within certain time intervals, right? It is not like that, okay, I will take, these many days to approve or reject it. It's not like that. Okay, So service level agreements like ensures to complete the tasks in time. Okay. So when you send the leave request to the you know the manager, so they have to take necessary actions immediately or within certain time. Otherwise, like so we can escalate it to their supervisor, or we can send the notifications to that particular you know the manager for asking to approve or reject it, kind of. Okay. And then so once we design the workflow, right, and then we will start modeling it. For example, we need to, it's kind of the testing, kind of unit testing. Okay. So once we design the process, so we have to check how it is behaving. So you design the leave request application as a developer, and you have to input the data. So let's say you select from date and to date, and then submit and see how it's whether it is detecting from the database or not. It is like so validating the data. Okay. To see like how it is behaving. So if you see the like undesired behavior, and you will be correcting that accordingly. Okay. And then we'll have the execution. So a process model can be executed using a business rules engine to control the process execution. Okay. It is basically based on the BPM, the tool which you are using, right? So if it is the Pega BPM, so we'll have the rules engine. Okay, it's like collection of various business rules, and using that, like, so we will execute the process. Okay. So once we design the process, it has to be executed, right? So it will happen through the business rules engine. Okay. And so monitoring, so this is like common thing, right? Like, so during the execution, so process can be monitored to collect the reporting data for performance, errors, and complaints. This is kind of monitoring the application, and if there are any errors, kind of, so you will optimize it. So that comes under the optimization. Okay. So data from the modeling and monitoring phases can be used to identify areas of the solution that can be improved to derive higher efficiency and better value. Okay. So the optimization is a continuous process, right? Like, so if you see undesired behavior or any kind of errors, so those can be optimized for high efficiency applications. Okay. So, if we take any kind of BPM application, so we will use all these things. Okay. So this can be, any kind of applications can be implemented using all these methods. Okay. Clear? So this
Yes,
is
sir.
like, yeah. So this is like, common in every BPM application. Okay. So now, coming to the the Pega, right? So Pega has provided a tool called PRPC. So we simply call it Pega, but actual the name is Pega Rules Process Commander. So we can also call it Pega PRPC. Okay. So Pega is a revolutionary solution for building business process management applications. Okay. And it is a process that focuses on automating the work and powerful automating the programming. Okay. So the PRPC is built using the JavaScript, HTML, CSS, etc. But we don't need to write the any kind of coding. Okay. So that means like, so Pega provided the various the business rules, we call it. So they provided the various business rules to implement an application. Okay. So let's say in order to design some user interface, so they provided the various components, various things. Using that, we can design the user interface. Okay, so in order to write the business logic and in order to interact with the other applications or other databases, so we'll have the various business rules. Okay, the simply uh, yeah, so we use the business rules to implement an application. Okay, so here in the Pega BPM is nothing but the business rules engine plus user interface. So business rule engine contains the various business rules which drives, which automates the business processes. And the UI is like, so we have the various, components for designing the user interface. Okay, using these two things, we are going to design Pega BPM applications. Okay, so simply the rules are the building blocks of an application. Okay, so in the traditional programming, right? Like, so we have to write a lots of code. So here, we don't need to write any kind of code to design our applications. Okay, and it automates the programming, meaning like, so, for example, if we take the user interface things, if you want to design a specific screen, right? So we have to write HTML, and for styling purpose, we need to use the CSS and all. But here, using that coding, so they design the templates. Okay, Pega has the various templates, and we have to use those templates, for designing the user interface. And you don't need to write any kind of single HTML or CSS coding. But even like you don't need to understand also, because you have to know about the templates. So what kind of templates we have, okay, and where we need to use those kind of things. You have to learn it. Okay. So when it comes to the business rules, so you should have some logical thinking. Okay. It's not like, so you might have heard that, okay, Pega is just like drag and drop. It's not like that. So there are things where we use that, for drag and drop for UI related things, but not the, complete things, right? So if it is just drag and drop, so everyone can learn this. So even you don't need to be a technical background or, graduate, right? So it's not a kind of, complete drag and drop, only the such kind of things. Okay, but you should have some logical thinking. Okay, so if it is the programming, so you have to, remember all the variables. You have to understand how the logic works, everything, right? And where you write some raw code, lines of code. But here, you don't need to do such kind of things, but you have to know how the conditions works. If I put these conditions, what will happen? If I put that condition, so what will happen in the next thing, kind of, okay? So you should have such kind of logical thinking uh, to implement an applications, okay? So as part of the training, so we will be, designing an application, so one loan application, so where we apply all the business rules, so that like you will understand, like, how we use the business rules in order to design application and how it works and all, basically. Okay, clear? So for example, let's say if you take the if you want to implement some, outbound email integration, like, where in order to send an email to the different parties in the Java, so we will have to write the lines of code. But here, so that email functionality already would be there. Okay, you just need to pass certain kind of things. Let's say to whom you need to send, what kind of content you have to send, at what point of time. So those we need to decide as a developer. So you will get the requirements, but like you have to, understand that how the email functionality works and what kind of things we need to pass. So you have to think in that way. Okay, and it is the practically proved that, the Pega applications are 6.4 times faster than Java, because uh, it maintains the various caches. Okay, so let's say in the application which you are working, so you have to interact very often with the external applications, and where you are bringing the lot of data. Okay, and let's say that data use, it can be the dynamic, meaning it can be changed very frequently, or it can be static also sometimes. Okay, so with the static, so you don't need to bring the data every time, right? Okay, because there is a lot of data, and it has to, interact with that application to bring that. And every time when you interact it, so it impacts on the performance. So because like, so certain logics gets executed internally, which slows down the application, right? So if you have a way that like where you can maintain that data, as a cache, in our application, so you don't need to go again and again to bring that data. So you just bring one time and reuse that data, okay, by storing in the cache, right? So, so we'll have the various caches, available in the Pega. So that's the reason, like, so we'll have the faster interactions. Okay. So you can like easily access an applications, and like you don't see any, delays in interacting with applications. Okay. Yeah. So what you need to understand from here is, so we use the business rules, okay, or we simply call it the rules. And using the rules, we are going to design our application, any kind of application, right? So using the PRPC, you can implement, let's say, leave request application or onboarding application, or it can be loan or healthcare, any kind of applications, you can build it. Okay. And Pega provided the various rules to accomplish that. Okay. So certain kind of rules for designing the user interface, and certain kind of rules to interact with the external applications or databases, and certain kind of rules for various business logics. Okay, so as part of the training, so we will be learning about those rules, and will implement an application using those. Okay, yeah. So now we will look at the advantages of the Pega. So we can develop, an applications with no code or low code. Okay, so it's basically a no code application. So in the previous versions, right, like, so it started with 4 5, we had various versions in the 6 also, like 6.1 2 3, like that. And we have the Pega in the 7, we have the 7 versions, and currently the 8 is going on. So again in the 8, like, so you can have like 8.1 2 3 and so on, but like, those are like minor changes. Okay, when you compare 6 to 7, so we'll see the huge differences. Again, when you compare with 7 8, you see the differences, but not that much, but they introduce some additional functionality. But if you learn one version, you will be able to understand easily. Okay, you can work on any other versions also. For example, let's say if you'd have trained on 7 version, and you worked on some applications on 7. So when they introduce 8 version, so you have to just go through the what additional functionalities they have provided, and you have to know about them. But the concepts would be the same. Okay, so concepts will remain same. Only some additional functionalities would be there every time they change the version. Okay, but from 6 to 7, so you see the UI change also. Like, so if you look at the 6 version and the 7 versions, you will see a lot of differences. In that cases also, concepts would be the same, but like, so you have to know what rules where it is available, like that. Okay, but if you just go through the few days, then you will understand all those additional capabilities. Okay, So that's the reason, like, so you don't need to worry more about what versions, the time is not teaching. Like, let's say they may teach like, some may teach like on 8.6 or 7 also, but those are very recent versions, so we don't use them in the real time. It takes some time. Okay, so mostly real time applications are working on 8.3, so here I will be teaching on that version. And let's say when you deploy to the real time applications, let's say if you get chance to work on 8.6, assume that, so you don't need to worry about that. So again, do you need to take the training? No, right? So only very few additional functionalities would be there. So you have to know about them. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So we can design uh, the low code or no code applications using the Pega. So low code means like there are scenarios. Okay. So we will have an option to write the coding also in very rare scenarios. Okay. So let's say we don't have any inbuilt cap functionality to achieve the client requirement, right? So in that scenarios, we'll have to slightly modify the existing code. So we have to uh, take the, a similar kind of functionality and we will modify slightly. Okay. So you don't need to worry about that. So you can learn that later, but so you don't write the coding in every application. In only certain applications or where the client requirements goes beyond that. Okay. It's like, yeah, so if you are not able to achieve using the Pega provided functionalities. Okay. But in the team, let's say if let's say there is a team of 10 developers and like so where you will have to write some kind of code. So the people like so who knows the coding will take care of that. Okay. Yeah. And the Pega helps to collaborate between the stakeholders and developers. So in the Pega applications, so mostly so we use the agile methodology, and so where like so we interact like so everybody would be there in the meetings like so to discuss the progress and to discuss the requirements. So we'll have the clear visibility among the team, and it automates the process to reduce the customer wait time. Okay, so there are a lot of things which Pega can automate the things. For example, as we discussed, let's say we need to send the emails to the customers, right? Let's say as a customer, I went to the bank to take the loan, so I should be notified about that whether it is approved or rejected or where it is available, right? That is one kind of let's say automated process. And let's say we have the data is coming from in the various files, right? So we should be able to load that data automatically. So you don't need, it doesn't need the manual process. Okay, I have the is a Excel file, so which has the 1,000 records, 1,000 rows, right? So I want to process those records. Okay, so that can be automated in the Pega. Okay, so likewise, there are a lot of things can be automated. So we'll see going forward, like so when we start, designing an application, so you will come to know all those things. Okay, then improve the quality with built-in guidance on the best practices. So whenever every time, so when you designing an application, so you have to always keep in mind from the broader perspective, right? So let's say here in the Pega, so we can design, we can implement one functionality in various ways. Okay, but you have to follow the best practice so that like later when other developers look at the code, look at the things, they would be uh, able to understand easily, right? So Pega provides some the best practices, so we have to follow them every time, so when we designing an application. Okay, so as part of our training, so we'll discuss those things like the best practices. Okay. So then expand one or more the pre-built applications to save the time. So let's say we designed one application, so with various functionalities for let's say some organization, okay, and we should be able to reuse some kind of functionalities for other kind of applications, right? So let's say today you design the home loan application. So tomorrow you might implement the similar kind of application, let's say auto loan or personal loan, etc. Okay. In that case, again, instead starting everything from scratch, so you build that application on top of the existing application, and so that the common functionalities can be leveraged. Okay. So if you take any kind of loan application, so there will be a certain process, right? That is common across the loans. In that case, so we can leverage those kind of things. Okay. Then leverage a large range of capabilities for building customer focused applications. Okay. So for example, so we use the Pega very widely in the call center based applications also. Okay. So we in that case, right, like so we have the different frameworks in the Pega. Okay, framework is like let's say set of existing functionalities. For example, you are designing let's say one call center based application, right? So we'll have a framework called CPM framework, the customer process management, so that you have to purchase from Pega to design it. Okay, or else you can also start from scratch, but it takes a lot of time. Okay, so whatever the main functionalities we need, so those would be there already in that framework, and we can just use that framework to implement additional functionalities. Okay. So for example, if you take the call center applications, right? So we interact with the customers using that application. So they interact with the customers through various channels, let's say through chat or through phone or emails like that. So those kind of functionalities already would be there in the framework. So you don't need to build again from scratch. If you want to build, it takes a lot of time because there will be a lot of things. Okay. So, but the application will not be same for all the organization, right? So let's say if we take the bank related customer care application, so let's say HDFC follows certain kind of things, but ICICI may follow the different things. But every application will have some common process. They have to interact with the people through various channels. That is the common. But like how the screens appears and how uh, you are what kind of the features, what kind of products they are, uh, providing to the customers is different based on the bank. So those kind of things we need to take care. Okay, as a developer. Clear? Yeah. And so deploy on premises or the cloud. So let's say we can when you are designing an application, right? So let's say client decided to use Pega. So where like so we can build on premises or cloud. So on premises means like so where so client has to manage the servers and the databases, everything. If it is the cloud, so the service provider like that, let's say if it is Azure, right? So they will take care of managing the servers and the DB related things, everything. Okay. So it's like application functionality doesn't change whether it is built on premises or cloud. As a developer, it is same. So if it is on premises, like so we'll have databases access where you can manage things. But if it is the cloud-based application, so you will not have access for those things. You will not have access for cloud. Sorry, yeah, cloud, and obviously like so you cannot access the database and all those stuff. Okay. Yeah. So let's say initially we designed an application on premises and later we can deploy to the cloud and vice versa. Let's say we design an application on cloud, but later if you want to deploy it on premises, we can do that. In some applications, so we'll have the various environments, right? Like, so we'll have the development environment, so we will have a testing like that. Okay, we'll have a pre-production, production like that. We'll have the various environments. In some environments, we use on-premises, and in the production, so we use the cloud. It can be also. Okay. Yeah. So these are the various advantages of Pega. And this is the Pega rules process commander architecture. Okay. So we can manage the various roles here. Okay. And so we'll have the rule base, which is the database, like so where all the business rules resides. And so we'll have the various integration capabilities, like so we can connect with the external applications. So and also like so we can provide the data from our application to the service consumers. Okay, so we will discuss this more, when we start designing an application. So you don't need to worry about the architecture part. Okay, so then coming to this one, so the Pega is widely, being used in the various sectors like financial services, healthcare, insurance, like that. So nowadays it is spreading to the different sectors like communication, media, etc. Okay, so and this link will give you like so the list of customers the Pega has. And so if you take the top 10 credit card companies or top 10 banks or healthcare providers, 90% of the companies are using the Pega PRPC. So you can just search in the Google also to know the list of customers. Okay. So there can be some confidential customers, but like so it will present like most of the customers. Okay. And so guys, like so we will close in next 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. We'll discuss about the certifications, then we'll discuss like queries. Okay, so in the Pega, right, like so we will have the various certifications. Okay, CSA is entry first level of certification, which is certified system architect, and CWSA is certified senior system architect, and we'll have the LSA. So these are the developer certifications. LSA is very advanced level certification, which is different from first two level certifications. Okay. So if you want to attend for interviews on Pega, you must need to be certified. Okay. So if you are putting, let's say, 2 years experience on Pega, you may have, let's say, 10 years also on different technology. But you cannot put all that 10 years on Pega, right? So you will put maximum of 3 years experience, let's say 3 or 4. Okay, 2 to 4 basically. And let's say if you have only 1 year gap, or let's say the 2 years gap, so you can try as a fresher or experienced. If you are putting experience, you can also put, let's say, 1 year or 2 years. So previously they used to consider only minimum 3 years experience candidates on Pega, but these days, like so, even they are considering if you are putting 1 year also. Okay, and we have huge openings for freshers as well. But certified freshers would be preferable. Let's say if you are already got trained on Pega with the CSA certification, so then they will give you more priority to those kind of people. Okay, and in some companies they prefer if the candidate is done with CSA. Okay, so CS and CWS are objective type of questions you can easily clear after going through the training. Okay, so what I would recommend always is you just go with CSA initially. Okay, and once you get the job, right, like so once you start working on real-time applications, like once you get like let's say 1 or 2 years real-time experience, then you can go for CWS. But in some cases, let's say assume that a candidate is having 10 years of experience and putting Pega experience, let's say 3 years. So in that case, some companies, because that person is having more experience. So some companies will consider only CWSA, like only if that candidate has CSA and CWSA. So in that scenarios, you can go for CWSA as well. Okay, because like so it cost around 16,000. Like so in a CSA cost around 16 and CWSA also same. Okay, but if you are having, let's say, just 2 years or 3 years of experience, we can just go with the CSA. Clear? And once you get, like, let's say 4 or 5 years of real-time experience working on various applications, then you can plan for LSA also. But it is uh, not like objective. So where you have to build an application. So Pega will give you some requirements. You have to implement that and you need to send it. Okay. So they will review and they will give you the certification. Okay. So this is more costly, but like definitely, so when you are going for LSA means like you must be working on some real-time applications. So they will sponsor you. Okay. They will give you the vouchers. You can go for that. Any questions regarding certifications? Yes.
So, Satya, what is your level of certification now? Just asking.
Actually, so yeah, so I'm just CWSA certified because uh, let's say I've been giving the training for last 5 years, right? So I don't have much time. So this takes like at least you have to spend some dedicated time. Okay, so these days
Mhm.
like so you can take the help and you can also get it done. That's not a big deal if you have some real time experience. Okay. So,
Okay.
but yeah, since I'm doing some corporate trainings and all, so I don't have much time. And if you get LSA certified, right, like you'll have to work on multiple applications. You get more packages also, but you have to work on the various applications in the real time, so you will not have much time to, yeah. So, so my priority is different. So that's the reason, like, I did not went for LSA. Okay.
Sure, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, if I require, like, so I can go at any point of time. Yeah. So that's about the certifications, and let's look at the questions you asked. Okay, that is fine. And is ServiceNow is also a BPM application? ServiceNow, uh, yeah, let's say ServiceNow, I'm not sure whether it is designed BPM application or not, but you can build such kind of application. For example, so we use ServiceNow application for tracking the things, right? Like for deployment things and various, project related things. Such kind of applications can be built using Pega BPM easily. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So now, guys, here, do you have any questions you can ask?
Yeah. So do we need to do the CSA, then we do the CWS?
Yeah. Yeah. That's correct. So CSA is a prerequisite for CWSA. So first you need to go with CSA, then you can plan for CWSA. Okay. So you'll be interacting with me, right? Like, so I will guide you for that. So I will help you to get it certified. And I will also suggest you like whether you have to go with only CSA or CWSA. But mostly I would recommend to go with CSA only. And if are not getting much calls for CSA, but you will get definitely. But if you are looking for more opportunities and if you are expecting more packages, right? In that case, you can also go for CWS. So, for example, TCS doesn't consider only CSA candidates. If you want to go for TCS interviews, you must need to you must have like both the certifications. Okay. So if you are putting, let's say, some experience, right? In that case, like so, you will not attend the TCS obviously because we'll have more background check and all. So in that case, like you can ignore. Okay. But in some companies like TCS, so only few companies they will ask like both the certifications. Okay. But there are a lot of companies we can consider only with CSA certification. Yeah. And so before going to further questions, guys, can you put on mute, please? Yeah. So coming to the training, right? So this is going to be a 2.5 months duration. The classes would be there from Monday to Saturday. Saturday kind of interview questions discussion. Okay, it's kind of revision as well as whatever the topics we covered in that week. We'll discuss from interview perspective. Okay, and we will be working on some loan application where we will design from end to end. Okay, and like so I will be giving you the software to get it installed in your personal machine, and also the material. Okay, material would help you to prepare for interviews, and I will give the notes as well, like so where you have to uh, like kind of running notes, and you can also prepare the notes. Okay, and you have to practice on daily basis. Okay, so whatever I teach here, right, like let's say 1 hour, so same thing to practice in your mission, it takes at least 1.5 hour to 2 hours initially. Okay, so you should be able to spend at least yeah, 2 hours per day. Okay, and in the weekends you can spend more time, so that like you don't need to spend again after like from interview perspective I'm talking, like so you don't need to spend long time after the completion of the training. So once training is completed, so you should be able to attend for the interviews immediately. Okay, so some people, right, like so let's say maybe working in the real-time applications, you may not having much time to practice and all, but at least like practice whatever you can and spend more time in the weekend. So otherwise what will happen, right, like so some people thinks that like so okay, we'll practice once the course is done, we'll just listen the classes and we'll practice. So that doesn't work. Okay, so again, like so you have to, it would be difficult to crack the interviews in that scenarios. Yeah, and class timing would be same. It's like 7 to 8. We'll start the class sharply at 7 o'clock and will be ended 8 or 8:05 like that. Yeah, and so the regular class will be started from tomorrow onwards. Okay, and yeah. So guys, please ping me your email IDs on WhatsApp so that I will share you the software and material, and where you can see the installation steps also. Okay, you can yeah. So where you can see the installation steps also. So you can go through that installation steps and you can get it installed. So it would be simple to install. Okay. Yeah. Guys, if you have, so we are running out of the time. So if you have any questions, right, like so you can call me after 9 o'clock. So I have another class now. So we will discuss. Okay. If you need more information, so we'll also spend some time tomorrow to discuss the questions. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for joining, and we'll connect back tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya.